Okay. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Abhishek Chanda. I'm the moderator for today's webinar. We have gathered here to discuss the book Partition, Legacy of M.K. Gandhi by Ms. Kamlesh Kapur. And this is the third installment in this series discussing the book over Mr. M.K. Gandhi's legacy and his in the connection with partition. Ma'am, we can start now.
Thank you. Okay, namaste. This is the third part. We are in the 1930s now, and things are getting complicated as it is in India at that time. Back and forth, there were too many forces and too many threads which were kind of, going different ways. And there was no meeting point. And that is where the seeds of separatism, communalism began. So having said that, we start the very first decade of the 30s. Now, what happened? There were daunting situations. The Viceroy did offer solutions, plans, and then Jinnah had his own reactions. And then Muslim League was not consolidated, and they had different plans by different groups. And then at the same time, things were moving a little out of control. So last time we discussed the execution of Bhagat Singh, which could have been avoided had Nehru or Gandhi intervened. Now we start there with a third partner in that trio, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and Azad. Azad somehow escaped, and he approached Gandhi to just protect him or give him advice or plead for me. And Gandhi refused to meet him. Then he approached Nehru, and Nehru suggested. Now, this is an important point why I'm making, because it will explain to us where the Congress party was heading. So Azad, Nehru agreed to meet him in the park, and obviously Azad came and met him. And as soon as Azad got up, Nehru informed the police, and there was some exchange of fire. The last firing was done by Azad to kill himself. And that is why he's called Azad, because he had vowed that he would not die at the hands of those people, he will die independent. So this shows the treachery of Congress party. They were working against the very people who were trying to sacrifice their life. So that is why this was, and the same thing happened before when Sukhdev wrote to Gandhi that don't interfere with the militants because your methods are not working. Let us do the work, and maybe, there will be some success. So, and of course, Gandhi never took any cognizance of that, not even understood what is going on and why he should do. It was always a conflict. He was himself a conflicted person because his nonviolence was meant here, not here. And to what extent, it was not a clear kind of clear-cut thing. In 1927-28, around that time, Swami Shraddhanand, who was doing Shuddhikaran, which is bringing back the people in the fold of Hindu Dharma. and he was killed by a Muslim, and Gandhi called him his brother, and he patted him, and he said, we should not hurt the sensitivities of the our brothers by doing these kind of shuddhikar. Now, you see, this was something horrendous. Here, the violence is justified, somebody's sensitivities. Here, the violence is not justified because they are fighting for the cause of the country and all those people who have been killed prior to that. So, thereafter, and now Jinnah was so enchanted with the Congress party that he said they are fickle-minded, these are his words, fickle-minded fools, and I have nothing to do with them. In fact, for a little while, for a few years, he left India and went to England to continue his own practice as a lawyer. And that was a big loss because Jinnah was in favor of, at that time, dominion status and united India. And he was a nationalist. And he wanted that there should be concrete plan. Whatever the English people gave, let us grab it and then keep getting more. And this is always the right kind of strategy and part of statecraft. Now, the Muslim demanded, since Jinnah left and the Muslim League found that there is no way they can compromise with the Congress party, they started demanding that we should be given communal award. The communal award means that if there is a representation in the provincial governments or in the Viceroy's Council, that means that the Muslims should have equal representation. Now, understand the wording equal. The Muslim population is 25%. And equal representation means that the 75% will have 50% of representation and 25% will have 50%. You see? And these people probably had no mathematical, it doesn't require a genius to calculate, but probably they were not thinking. They were thinking in principles, in vague kind of ideals and paradigms which were not even applicable to Rajniti or winning any battle, personal or otherwise. So what is at stake, they had absolutely no idea. So at that time, Gandhi himself suggested that if they want equal representation, let us give them. He did not know what equal means. So he meant that weighted kind of representation. Anyway, the Government of India Act was passed in 1935, and that gave them weighted representation. I mean, which means more representation compared to their demography than to the rest of India. And then they made one condition that Muslims must approve if there is any change in the Independence Act or in the any change in the Indian Act of 1935. And they also made sure that Anglo-Indians will have the same rights. Now, this announcement was, and now the question is, what is Gandhi's reaction? What is he going to say? He didn't say anything because it was his idea to give the Communal Award, and the rest of the nitty-gritty legal language, surprisingly, he did not pay attention to. So this is how it is going to play out now. So in 1936, Jinnah came back. Now all the balls are in the court of the British because Congress party is not coming out with any plan, suggestions, or frame of work. So, and Muslim League was getting stronger and stronger. At this point, And the British realized that Jinnah belongs as a head of the Muslim League. He was not. And he did not even represent all the Muslim factions. There were so many of them. Some did not want, like Maulana Azad, and there were many others in the Muslim League who really did not want that there should be partition or separatism. It's okay, let's have a communal award and give them representation, work together. At that point, the British had made up their mind. Actually, they had made up their mind in the beginning of at the end of the 19th century, that they are going to bifurcate. There is no doubt in their mind that they are going to leave India just united. So now they started making plans that we are going to give them at some point some kind of independence. Now we need the leader to consolidate the Muslim factions. Okay, so they asked Jinnah to go back and do something for your community. At that point, he came back. In the meantime, one of the poets who was actually in favor of united India also decided that we are better off with a partition. His name is Iqbal. So now you have two very good speakers, very good statesmen, and who could lead the party. So the elections come. And the fun part begins because it is Congress party was completely at a loss what to do. The situation is always dynamic. You see, nothing is like static that you can make a plan ahead and that this alone will work. It was a dynamic situation. So many factors were happening worldwide. And still, the British government said that let us start the provincial autonomy and let us go with that. At that point, Congress made another foolish card, and that was to bar the Muslims from voting power who were not members of the Congress party. They were within the Congress party, had not resigned from it, but they were not like voting members. Okay, so they lost that, and they are not going to vote. Why should they stay in the Congress party? Many left. So this is how the consolidation of the forces which led to the partition, and British played an excellent role, and Jinnah played equally a very astute game. So there were Gandhi and company. There was no match for these master manipulators. So it was the end of the dream as far as the United India was concerned. Now, Gandhi's unreasonable demand that only we can work together if, as a team, if the Muslims are members of the Congress party. This was foolish. The British felt that they and the Muslims had common values. Of course, they all come from desert religion, and they had the same kind of beliefs, hell, heaven, everything. And they thought that they could not trust the Hindus, but they could trust the Muslims. So now Jinnah's conditions were to get whatever the British gave and then build on that. So he was working in coalition along with the lines laid down by the British people. He gained favors inch by inch because he did not oppose the British in any scheme. You see? So going along with them, he was pleasing them at the same time, working on them to give more and more and more. And then in 1937 came the opportunity when the elections happened. Now, out of 11 provinces, Surprisingly, 8 of them went to the Congress party. And now another thing happened. When they thought that this is provincial autonomy that is given to them, suddenly Gandhi decided that the British are not giving us enough, and they left. Non-cooperation, boycott. We are not going to be part of it. This was the time when the Muslim militia arose. Jinnah gained on this vacuum. In this vacuum, he said that why not? We did, in the provinces where we are going to be ruling, we are going to recruit in the police, in the private militia, and arm everybody. So he was consolidating both in a military, in the weaponry sense, in every way. And he also said that they should join the British Army so that they can gain the warfare techniques and get weapons as well. So these were games which were being played, and Gandhi was absolutely not clear what is he going to do, except that Hindu-Muslim unity, let us clap on that, and non-violence, of course, in every situation. So after this, somehow he decided that this was a wrong move. We should have been part of the provincial autonomy. So they came back in power. When they came back, now we are in 1939. And electoral victories again came to Congress party. And the issue of nonviolence again came in. At that time, the war started. In that war, the British said that to Indians that you are going to be partner with us. And Jinnah said yes. And Gandhi said no. Now look at this, always working in the most unpredictable way. That if you are supporting them during the First World War, you are recruiting for them, and now suddenly you are saying that we are not going to fight for to be part of the violent war. Wars are always violent. They are not playing games there. They are not on a chessboard. So Gandhi forced the Congress governments in provinces again resignation. He asked them to resign. And all the fools in the party agreed. So the last bargaining power that Congress as a nationalistic party had, they lost. Now, in the meantime, another player enters, and this is a side show. People think it was a side show in the general drama. It wasn't. It proved to be the most important trump card that came in the hands of the Congress party, and they lost the card. In 1937, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, he was just about 40 years old, and he was elected as the president. Very dynamic, very practical, but he did not rule out militant things. And so Gandhi disappeared. Okay. When Netaji gave in writing that I will not resort to violence, then alone Gandhi agreed that, okay, let him be the president. It's only for 1 year. Somehow or other, Netaji was elected again. Now Gandhi was furious. You see, considering that he was a Mahatma, he was caught actually unmasked. He thought it is not the defeat of Patabi, the opposing candidate. He thought he took it personally. He said, it's my defeat. He was my man. How dare you pick up Netaji again? So he started fasting, sulking, boycotting the session. And he started another council in Rajkot. So, in fact, he was blackmailing. Finally, the Congress had asked Netaji to resign. So he resigned, and the blackmail paid off. Now, this is another important point. In the 1930s, what he realized that any time his power is being challenged or his decision is not obeyed, he's going to start fasting and boycotting his own party, okay, as a leader. So let us see now how many people he has lost in the 30s who were statesmen, who knew what is public policy and public implementation, how the governments are run. He lost the opportunity to gain the experience in terms of how the governments are run. You see, sitting cross-legged on the floor as a Mahatma and giving speeches is one thing. Running a government is quite a different matter. And since these people resigned from those 8 states, what did the viceroy did? First of all, Jinnah clapped. He was so gleeful, he couldn't hide his happiness. Now he has 11 states because the governors which were chosen for those previously Congress ruled provinces, these people were ruled by the governors according to the India Act of 1935. And who were the governors? The Muslims. And Muslims did the same thing as they did in the other 3 provinces. So in these 10 years, if there is anything positive on the side of the Congress or on the side of the Gandhi's decision, it is for you, viewers and the readers, to figure out, because I could not figure out. We lost Netaji, we lost Madan Mohan Malviya. He was another person who did not agree with the founder of Banaras Hindu University. He resigned. Savarkar, who had come back from exile, he was removed, not allowed. Then, of course, Jinnah. So, now, this is the picture. I think the resolution is not so good because I try to zoom it. But in any case, if you are looking at it, you see that Gandhi is nowhere. This is the second election. Everybody else is there. You can see Vallabhbhai Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, in a corner, Maulana Azad, and everybody else. Gandhi is not there. He was boycotting. You see, this is visual. If anybody thinks that there is no evidence, this is Sarojini Naidu. Here is Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. So, what exactly was he trying to do then? If he was not cooperating with the British, he was not listening to his own party. So what was then he doing? What was his agenda? Gandhi's priorities and his preoccupation was non-violence at any cost, Hindu-Muslim unity, which was fading away, exodus of the dissenters. This is a summary of, and all because Mahatma wanted that there should be, he should remain Mahatma. So he was maintaining his own stature, his leadership, and that's the kind of person he was. Flip-flop of Gandhi's. Now this is a conflicted mind playing. When the war was declared, Gandhi said, we are not going to cooperate. And Privately, he was going to see Lithgow, the viceroy at that time. And he went, he says, we want to cooperate. Somehow the Congress party doesn't agree. Let me play on them. And somehow or other, we will not be opposing it. Okay. The first time Lithgow listened to him. Then Gandhi went again. And he said, I think that war is a wrong thing to do. The best thing is if Hitler does anything, we should accept it. Ultimately, non-violence wins. So he said, okay, we'll think. But Lithgow said one thing very important. He said, we are fighting for our very existence. And you are talking about non-violence. So after that, Gandhi made several attempts to meet him. Lithgow refused. So the question of conscience, morality, in between some Christian principles, these were a kind of mixture, very confusing mixture. He himself was confused, and the others were confused from his day to day, and this way or that way, this way or that way, now this way, suddenly. So pragmatism was nowhere in any of the leftover of the Congress party under his leadership. So he lost credibility with the British government also. From there onwards, they couldn't care whether Gandhi cooperated or he did not cooperate, whether Gandhi was starting non-cooperation or he's supporting us. He became irrelevant as far as the British are concerned. And Jinnah publicly, made fun of it. Now, my question to all of you is, and this is the last slide today, what would you think is the impact of all these happenings? Think of today's India. I mean, before Modi came, say 2014, in the next 70 years, in the 80s of the last century, in the 90s, in the 60s, in the 50s, what was happening? And can you link all these developments of the 30s to whatever is happening now? Can you find a link, a correlation, or a cause and effect relation? And also, my question is, at this point, how many people think partition was inevitable? Could it be avoided, or could it not be avoided? So this is something that this is a point that we Indians together have to resolve. Of course, there are a lot of breaking India forces. In spite of that, if we put the thinking hat and connect the cause and effect and think if Gandhiism is still some kind of a ideology or a dharmic document or an instrument of state policy, niti, then please give me the feedback. I'll be very happy to know that there are solutions which in 1930 thereafter could be possible. Thank you very much. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, excuse me. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, sorry, this is me here. Thank you for the really enlightening presentation you gave. As before, I always learn a lot about Indian history and your perspective on that. Yeah, we have a couple of things. One by Ansh Mawani. They still demanded. This is regarding the Muslim overrepresentation. OIC recently said hijab-clad girl should be PM, and early on had said all state deputy CM should be Muslim. That's one. And another a comment by Naomi Caligaro. The British are highly experienced in divide and rule. Well, that has been the imperial rule since Roman times, divide et impera, right? So I have a couple of questions. Actually, answers. What is the impact of all this? You asked. I thought that today, you said for today, but I think even in those days, the very important point, a very important impact of Gandhi's methods or lack of methods was that it disempowered Hindus as a group, especially in the 30s when the constant resignation and coming back to power and again resigning, etc. What it did, we did not have a voice. We were not able to negotiate as a group. And when the British stopped listening to him, I think they had concluded that Hindus as a group are finished, and that's why they stopped listening to him. I mean, I would rather. I don't think they would simply stop listening to him because of one statement, but because Hindus had been disempowered by that time. And was partition inevitable? Maybe not in 1947, but my opinion, it would have happened anyway because. Um, then we would have had a massive civil war lasting for a long time. I think, in my opinion, partition was a necessary surgery. So, one more comment has come from Naomi Caligaro. Could you comment, please, on the role of Rabindranath Tagore?
What is the comment? Question?
Could you comment, please, on the role of Rabindranath Tagore?
Role of who?
Rabindranath Tagore. Did he have any?
No, Rabindranath Tagore was not involved in politics. He did protest against Jallianwala Bagh.
1919.
Gave up his knighthood, sir. He surrendered that, but he was not in politics. There were so many other Bengalis who were actively participating.
Okay. And another comment from Gayatri N. Ambedkar wanted separate electorates for Dalits, which was a very dangerous idea. He also twisted Buddhism by following fraudulent Western Indologist narrative of Buddhism. Also, there is an interesting quote of Gandhi stating, "My own experience confirms that the opinion that the Mussulman as a rule is a bully and the Hindu is a coward. I have noticed this in railway trains, on public roads, and in the quarrels which I have had the privilege of settling. Need the Hindu blame the Mussulman for his cowardice? What what do you make of this, Professor Kamlesh ji?"
About the Hindus became cowards. They were not cowards because of constantly, putting that intravenous in the heads of the Hindus. Non-violence, non-violence. You have to tolerate non-violence. Be brave. So, since he himself was a coward, he thought every Hindu is a coward. So he disarmed us while they were weaponizing the British, were weaponizing themselves and the Muslims. Hindus were getting less and less popular. They were constantly getting clipped, their wings and their feathers. And that mentality is still there. What can I do? Nobody is thinking, what can we do? We still have that thinking, what can I do?
He basically projected his own experience that you had mentioned in the previous that he was beaten to an inch of his life by a Muslim in South Africa. That he projected upon every Hindu,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
he was really afraid of Muslims. And in fact, there is a picture. I mean, I could not include all those pictures. One of them, he's groveling at the feet of Jinnah. Jinnah is sitting cross-legged on the chair and trying to tie his shoelaces. And Gandhi went down and on his knees and he tied the shoelaces. I mean, he was to this extent such a pathetic groveling person. You see, you don't beg power for power. Power
Hmm.
is right, and you earn it and you fight for it. So um, this is and about Ambedkar. Many people have all kind of misunderstanding, misperceptions about Ambedkar. Ambedkar did write about the evils of caste system. That was his book, Partition or No Partition, something like that. I have given in the bibliography. And he also asked for rights for the Dalits, which of course Indians had already decided that it should be done. That was part of the Arya Samaj movement, which Gandhi suppressed. That was their movement that they should be uplifted. And so, but outwardly, there was no other clash other than Ambedkar said that the attire does not make a person Mahatma. That he said in 1932. So that we can understand that he was on a very solid ground and dismissed, like every other sane was silenced. So
Okay.
Ambedkar was the greatest nationalist and pragmatic person. He was
That's
not
true.
allowed to
Hmm.
remain as a law minister after that. Okay.
Okay. About the Indian Act of 1935, there are certain other provisions. Could you talk a little bit more about that particular act, if you that pertains either actually that particular act pertains to the relationship between India and Britain, and is kind of still relevant today. So could you shed some light on that?
Offhand, I don't remember these details. The basic fact was that it they used the census of 1931 to determine the representation
Okay.
and allotted the seats in the provincial 11 provinces according. And I also know that it was the basis of drafting the constitution, which meant that they had to include, Mountbatten made sure that according to the Act of 1935, we have to give certain permanent seats in the parliament to the Anglo-Indians and to those people who remain, the Britishers who remain, and the Muslims who will still be there, and the whole lot. That kind of thing came out of the Act of 1935.
Right.
Communal representation and the reservation of seats and the whole bit. Uh, and they used 1931 demography. Now, these people who drafted the Constitution, it is beyond belief that they used 1931 census. When they did in the Constitution allotted representation after transfer of power, they considered 1931. Why not 1941? Why not have a new one? You see, let us be reasonable. Um, I think there was no reason at that time with
Mhm.
any of these leaders.
We have a couple of comments. Gayatri N again on Ambedkar. Ambedkar's oath at the time of conversion to Buddhism used venom on Hinduism. This singes us till today. And another one by Naomi Caligaro. From my research, Tagore's Swadeshi songs and social reforming operas and plays had a considerable political effect, including in uniting people in the desire for freedom and justice. Two of Tagore's Swadeshi songs ended up as the national anthems of India and Bangladesh. Uh, and one more comment, Mr. Naresh Sehgal has repeated it. I think it was directed at me. I beg to differ and feel that partition was avoidable if India had a sensible leader like Lincoln. Well, okay, one more. Okay, this comment by Naomi Callegro is a quotation of Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. So, if I may answer, Mr. Naresh Sehgal, is we can agree to disagree on whether it was avoidable or not. It's been done for a long time. So our opinion doesn't matter, particularly on that point, right? Uh, yeah, I think I have. Well, I distinctly got the impression today from your talk that Gandhi would have been a very effective British agent. You had said he was not an agent, but listening to you, I thought that that's a possibility one should consider. I'll tell you why. You said that British had already decided by the late 19th century that they would need to partition India, right? And uh, a couple of history points. That is one point. The other thing, in 1905, when Japan defeated Russia in a naval war, that was the first time that a colored country had defeated a white country in living memory, which had launched a lot of political agitation all over the colonized world, including India, including partition in Bengal, which was partitioned for the first time in 1905 for that reason. So when that happened because we saw a white country being defeated. Someone is asking for a live link. Uh, uh, Rajiv ji, could you just share that
Yeah,
with everyone?
yeah.
Yeah.
Continue with the
Okay.
discussion, but
Yeah.
note is
So
not happening.
yeah. So that was one. So when the First World War started in 1914, they realized that they need cannon fodder from colonies, especially India. And when these men would return, these soldiers would return home, they would be battle hardened, and then they would have a very difficult time controlling them. So they needed a bhakti saint to do that. So that is why Gandhi was sent back in 1915 to India to launch his Ahimsa Paramo Dharma campaign, right? So we have the motive of the British. Of course, they had the means, motive, means, and what's the third point of a police investigation? Motive, means, and opportunity. And opportunity was always with them. They had control over everything: the intelligence, the political parties, finance, military, police. So they had the whole thing. So I got that impression that one explanation pulling all these together is if he was a British agent from the very beginning, but he was a confused agent. So he tried to play because not a person in his right mind agree to play such a role. So there was his narcissism to and as well as his opportunism to play with the British that made him play such a role. And that's about. I mean, I got that impression. I'm not. I'm sure there will be many people who will disagree,
If
but
I, because this is so much of feedback that you have given me, and I may not retain the entire thing. So let
no
us.
problem. We can discuss in WhatsApp or email.
No. I'm just going to pick up a few threads that you made. In 1930s, those 10 years, partition could not be avoided. And as Naresh said, that partition could be avoided if Lincoln was there. But Lincoln was not there. So it was Gandhi who was there. Lincoln was against slavery, but he was not like going to war. The war was started by somebody else, by the slave owners. So, and without his conscience, I mean, agreeing to it, he jumped into the war because there was no other thing to do. As far as the agent, so in 1920 to 1930, it could be avoided. Most decidedly in those 10 years, it could be divided. Now, in the 30s, the way the forces were let loose, and Gandhi was so confused by this time, how much weight he should give to Muslim Hindu unity. You see, if you are going on a curve in economics and in other things also, there is something called the law of diminishing returns. And every time you think that the blackmail will work, the blackmail will work with Hindus. It has, for the Muslims and the English, bhaad mein jaye. If he is not going to die, let him die today. And even last time I said that as a mother, if my own child says that I'm going to kill myself by fasting or by any other means, I'll say, go ahead. Just give me, when you want to die, I'll give you the means to that. I'll help you. You see, you cannot cow down a whole nation into being gimmicks. Whatever they are doing, you have to obey. Whatever I say, you have to obey. Mahatma said that, you made me. In one of the statements, he said, you made me Mahatma, now you have to listen. What kind of things these are? I mean, people had no guts. And everybody was Hindus by now. They are not just cowards. They are very self-interested, self-focused. We cannot create a community in a country where we are just about 2 billion people, and creating a nation after Gandhi's blow after blow. And by the way, there is absolutely no doubt that he was not a stooge uh, English people. The British, he worked contrary to the interests of India, but that was his own confusion and follies, blunders, but deliberate conflict in his mind. He was not an agent, that is for sure.
All right. Another comment by Yogesh Gaggar. Is there any truth that there is transfer of power of agreement made by British and signed by us, which means temporary arrangement of independence, and it is being renewed from time to time? What's your views on this? Ma'am, if you would like to.
Yeah, I would have preferred to do this in the next, because then we are going to do 40s. But just briefly, I can say that it was transfer of power by the British to the interim government. And the task of the interim government was to work according to the India Act of 1935, and later on the Cabinet Mission Plan that was made in 1946. And this was the transfer of power. And as per agreement between Patel and understanding with Gandhi that he will not contest, so Nehru became the prime minister. But he was under every time he wrote, he swore, took the oath, he said, I am the servant of His Majesty, the King of England. I wrote it down in that section.
Okay. When one more comment, Girish Sharma, while partition was brutal, if partition had not happened, we would be living with a much larger concentrated population of quote unquote problem creators. Can you please share your perspective on partition considering point above?
Well, that is a kind of conjecture. If now anybody is talking about a Khand Bharat, many people are talking that we are going to unify the entire India, Balochistan, everything. It won't work, because the Muslim population completely outpace. They have outpaced us, and they will outpace. Plus, we have more enemies now. We have the media, westernized seculars, and communists, and Chinese agents, and the whole lot. So we are in a much worse situation than we were in 1930s and 20s. We only had two enemies. So right now we cannot even think of. It is foolish. Just maintain what you have. Let not China have, some more, and stop the terrorism. If we can do these two things, this is the most important function of any government. Any government is constituted to protect the borders, which America is not able to do now, and we never did. And the second is to provide law and order. If the government cannot do that, rest of the schemes giving props to this person, affirmative action, that such people are getting this kind of weightage. And this is not nation building. This is not welding the nation. This is breaking the country. And India has broken. Surely every
We are in the last 10 minutes now. One comment by Naomi Caligaro. Is there any evidence that the British sent Gandhi to India in 1915, please? If it's directed at me, I had made that. I also said that's my opinion, given the circumstances, because they needed Gandhi, someone like Gandhi at that moment. So I said that it would. But Kamlesh ma'am has already explained why he was not definitely not an agent. So the question of British sending him back wouldn't come. And she goes on further to say, I have never come across any evidence of this in my research. All the evidence that I have seen is that Gandhi was responding to requests from Indian in India to return to India in 1914-15. Okay. Next comment, Gayatri N. His sense of non-violence was very dubious. When he did not want Indians to fight for their own independence, why did he want Indians to fight a war for the British? So if he wasn't an agent of the British, why did he want Indians to fight physically against his principles for the British? His ostensible reasons are very fraudulent. Okay, and I'll just cover the next comment also. Okay, ma'am, if you want to answer that particular one. But I think we have already covered the questions Gayatri has raised. Supti Khare has said, Muslim League was founded in 1906 for securing land for Muslims. Gandhi came to India in 1915 or brought in India to safeguard Muslims? Question mark. He became president of Khilafat Committee 1919, first ever post he could achieve in India. 3 exclamation marks. So that's one. And one can Google emotional blackmail. It is a concept in psychology that a person uses fear, obligation, and guilt as transactional dynamics in a relationship. Well, we can by Madhu. So if you would like to take Supti Khare's question about his, but I think we have covered this in the last this thing.
last session also. But let me again, and there is all these 3 comments are different tangents. So yes, Muslim League was made in 1906, and that was at the initiative of the Aligarh University. Hidayatullah, something like that, the name was. And that was to make the Muslims carve out Ghazwa Hind. So there was, that was their purpose. Hindus were confused. They didn't know whether they want this or that or that. But the Muslims were very firm in that they wanted to restore the Mughal Sultanate and Ghazwa Hind. So there was a jihad. And Mahatma Gandhi was fighting for that jihad when he started that Mopla business. What has Khalifa to do with India? So, in fact, he was, I wrote that he was the first jihad, non-Muslim jihadi, the only non-Muslim jihadi, and remained jihadi to the end of it. When he shifted, asked a family who was sheltered in January after partition in a mosque, and he asked them to vacate, that 3 months old child died. That is what led. Those small little things accumulated after the partition. I was alive at that time. I read that news that he was, he made them vacate, and the kid died of pneumonia. Now, how many deaths can we place on the head of Mahatma Gandhi? I shirk to say Mahatma. I cringe at the word Mahatma because I have done. And by the way, anybody who is quoting from Google and from internet sources, please do not believe. Go to original sources. There are so many collected works of Mahatma Gandhi, 90 volumes. Each is 600 pages. Read some of his articles where he contradicts himself, and he was absolutely out of place. I mean, so please don't go to Google sources and don't go to Wikipedia. Absolutely. These are all, go to evidence. I'm a historian. I would go to the original source. What is in the British archives? Let us see the dialogue between the various lords and the prime minister and Emery and then this Congress party and other people. There were a lot of other fringe parties. So we are not going to go to those sources. If I wanted the readers to go there, then there was no point my writing this book. So because I took the original, so do not
All
go.
right. So we'll just take the last. This comment would actually be in place for the next one. Girish Sharma saying you can take this later. This question later when you discuss 40's question. Do you think Godse did a wise thing by killing Gandhi when Gandhi was hanging by the thread? Did this act make a hero out of Gandhi? And Gayatrian replies, of course, only a little too late. So we'll do that next in the next this thing. We have 4 minutes, ma'am. Could you just speak 3-4 lines on what we will cover in the next session?
The next session is a lot of confusion in the background of the Second World War and a desperate attempt of Mahatma to stay in the limelight because he was absolutely a non-entity. He proved to be, as far as the British was concerned, Jinnah was concerned, he was nobody. He was a total fake and nobody. And Hindus still, we have that kind of blind faith, Andhabhakti. So the next is 1940, that is the decade. And partition and the whole thing, how did it? Partition had to happen because in Mahabharata, in one place, what is his name? Bhisham Pitama. Bhisham Pitama says that the future is born from the womb of the past. What is happening now is not happening because of recent events. It had to happen this way. So the forces were going that way, that things were unavoidable. If you think that partition could be avoided in the 1947, not possible, because lines were drawn and the British interests were clear. And we will check that next session.
Okay. All right. Next session, as Rajivji had said, November 13th, same time. Girish Sharma has made a comment. Love your clarity on the subject, which has come from your depth of knowledge through extensive research. Pranam to you for this outstanding work. So, with your permission and the permission of all our guests, I'd like to close this session. Rajuji?
Yeah, all good. Next is
Sridhar?
November 13th.
Yes, sir. Okay. So we'll take, Mr. Sridhar has said excellent lecture, Ji. And okay. So we can close the session now. Thank you, ma'am, again for your valuable time. It really gets me back into. I mean, I teach economics, but I really want to do research on history now. Again, I used to do earlier for my personal knowledge. So I will take up history again, inspired by you. So thank you, everyone.